So immediately my phone rang. This was my mum being like, what on earth have I just witnessed on my television screen in front of me? On my mum's side, my great-grandfather actually played and coached and is actually in the history books for Aberdeen. He was one of in their centenary year, they did the 25 greatest, I guess, players involved at the club. And he was one of those. So, yeah, there is a strong family connection. And his name was actually Donald Cunningham, but he played as Donald Coleman because in his era, it wasn't as lucrative a career as it is now. So actually, he played under a name that wasn't maybe identifiable to him. So his mum didn't find out that he was actually pursuing football, which there's some irony to then how my mum found out that I'd left the accountancy world and I was going professional as well. It was kind of part of the story of where my mum finds out I'm no longer an accountant without me telling her, which wasn't quite my intention, but I'd recently qualified. I qualified in October of 2013 as a chartered accountant. And I worked for EY in Glasgow, and I have to say they'd looked after me very well in my 3 years because I needed a few, let's call it a few extra days of annual leave to kind of meet the demands of going away in the Champions League with Glasgow City, going away with the national team, through the camps they had through the year. And then on top of that, there was days I needed for leave for actually sitting my exams. So I was very fortunate that the partner at the time in the audit department was a big Scotland fan. I still speak to him. He still sends me emails every so often, and we have a catch up. But he used to, I mean, the firm wanted to support me doing what I was doing, and they do that a lot as much as possible. You know, they're a big firm, and therefore they probably have more scope to be able to do this than other firms might. But you know, they like to encourage these things. They have other, you know, lots of others have good examples that would be sort of similar. But they needed to sign me off on it on a lot of extra days. But he basically, once I qualified, I remember he called me into a meeting towards the end of that year, and I was sort of panicking because you only really have a meeting with one of the partners if you've done something wrong. I think there's no other reason really why somebody of my level would need to speak to a partner. So that was a bit alarming when that calendar invite popped up in my inbox. But he basically pulled me aside, and he obviously could see that the women's game was also changing. He followed my career closely. He was really invested, and he kind of realised that two things. I think one, I think he genuinely thought if you want to play professionally, you need to go now because you're at an age whereby you might miss the boat if you don't go now. I was 20. And on top of that, he was like, as a competitive person, if you stay within the firm, you're going to want to keep working your way up through the firm. And once you start working your way up through the firm, like there's less and less scope for us being able to give you the amount of time off that you'll need if you want to keep playing football. And he sort of recognised, like, if the football doesn't work out, you can definitely fall back on this, but can't really do it the other way. You can work your way up the chain and then realise, oh, I wish I had done the football. By that point, you know. So he sort of was the one who really was the initial, kind of the penny dropped when he had that meeting with me, and he was like, I think you should go and see what's possible. You know, is there a move on the table that you're not aware of? So I ended up getting an agent that was recommended through someone else who'd done something similar. I didn't know that many players that had moved from, you know, Scotland to become pro, so it was fairly foreign to me. I wasn't particularly clued up on it. But the agent I used at the time, really nice guy. He sort of, there was a couple of offers on the table, let's say. And yeah, one of the days we went down to Notts County, the manager, Rick Passmore, he's now at West Ham as the assistant. He was really keen at the time. He was like, look, we want to sign you, but would love you to come here. I'd love to I'd love to sit and have a cup of tea in person. And that was probably a really big part for me because, you know, some of the other offers were clubs that would be considered bigger clubs. But just, you know, meeting someone in person and I think getting that feel for it and being my first move into professional football, that was what I had the most comfort with. That felt the right move. So anyway, what happened was while I was down there, ended up being, we signed the forms. They obviously were teed up. They were well versed in the process compared to me. So they were like, if this all plays out, we'll get the pictures, we'll get it done. It will be over the line. So we had all that done, and I was in the car with my agent driving back to Glasgow. Meanwhile, the news had kind of got out very quickly, and Reporting Scotland had picked it up. So my mum was sitting watching Reporting Scotland, and I'll pop a picture of me holding like a Notts County scarf or holding the shirt, something like that, like on BBC Reporting Scotland. So immediately my phone rang. This was my mum being like, what on earth have I just witnessed on my television screen in front of me? And so, yeah, I had to do a little bit of backtracking and digging myself out a hole there. But that was how it came about.